Hey folks, TC, Julius here. Going to be going over some news today, and also to talk about some of my expectations and some of the things that have been going on over the last couple days. I'm even going to go ahead and discuss a little bit what about the IMF is saying, and just some things, some expectations I have before the elections. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank you guys for your support on the Patreon. As you know, we have an animation project called the Grigori. We're trying to launch one of our projects called Grigori Legends, and it's the legends of the redhead giants and the Native American tribes in the Americas a long time ago and from oral traditions. So we're moving the project forward, so we just need your support to continue on with the animation. So what's been going on the last couple days? First of all, my YouTube feed, as far as my subscriptions, is almost empty. A lot of people that I've listened to, a lot of people that I do subscribe to, I don't listen to always every single video, but if something piques my interest, I'll listen. And it's about a variety of subjects. And some of those subjects that I listened to when I could, I dealt with a lot of kind of what's going on right now. A lot of channels have got deleted, and some of my favorite channels have been deleted because they're discussing this information concerning, the corruption and all the stuff that was going on, right? Things that we've already been discussing, the things that need to be changed before the Dinar RV takes place. This election is important because it is going to determine whether or not if we either continue on to a new system or we, stay on the same course with the old system. Right now, it seems like we're staying on course with the old system, but there's a lot of information out there that dictates that we are going to a new system. And like I said, this election is important. This is worldwide impact because what happens with the United States and who has the power, and they can control and dictate a lot of things, and that includes our financial system. And we know that we need a change. And we still haven't seen the changes that we are still looking for just yet. And I do want to discuss a little bit about the IMF and what they're talking about. They're talking about a Bretton Woods style meeting to get all these countries together, and discuss some type of new policy thing. Dealing with a new system, right? Because the old system isn't working. And after listening to what's going on, it's basically the old system wrapped up in a new package, the way I look at it. But it's a lot more taxes, a lot more spending, just spend, print. And that's really the plan. That's the way I see it anyway. And regardless, and the IMF is not a government agency. They're an organization that lends out money in cooperation with all these other countries. So they could call for it. They can't pass anything. They have some power maybe to push certain things in certain directions. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they could actually get something done. They could call for it, use their money, power to try to push towards a new system. Because you know what? The old system wants to try to rebrand itself as a new and different system because the old system doesn't want to go away. So they just want to basically enhance the old system. And that's what I've been reading just a lot, dealing with just articles dealing with, some type of fiat style revaluation. We go back to what Kim Clement said. There will be a breakthrough in the Middle East, right? Talks about the dinar. And so what is going to happen with the dinar that takes place that is going to cause this, right? Because the banks can call out for whatever is going to happen, but this particular thing that's the dinar RV is going to begin in the Middle East. And we see what's going on with the peace agreements, folks. I mean, even some of the worst of Israel's enemies are trying to get in to do a peace deal, right? Something has changed. Something has changed in the Middle East. And maybe it's information that's only privileged to a few select, but they are really rushing to do this. And I don't really understand. So it is to me, it's weird, right? And all these different peace agreements are all coming all before this election. We've discussed Before, if Iran is going to do anything, they have to make their move, because once this election has been sealed, once the current administration is reelected, it's going to seal the power. It's going to seal his power. And after that, the president is going to be able to do a lot of things that maybe not necessarily he was able to do before. And so maybe there's just something there going on behind the scenes that's causing all these countries to gravitate towards Israel and try to sign these peace agreements. Maybe it does have to do with energy, and maybe it does have to do with, maybe Israel finding a whole bunch of oil that we don't know about, right? And maybe that's one of the reasons why. And also, we discuss about OPEC, and Kim Clement said that OPEC would basically come to an end. But Kim Clement did say that OPEC would come to an end. So if OPEC is coming to an end, then we should start seeing that. Now, we did see, if you go back with the prophecy concerning OPEC, and then you had, 3 countries that left OPEC. Even a Middle Eastern country left OPEC, right? In the last 6 years, I think 3 countries have left. So, and there was news articles I presented that dealt with Iraq might be the next one to leave. And that could be part of it. And trying to figure out what the breakthrough is. Right? So obviously if it deals with the dinar, it deals with the, some them raising the rates. And there's a lot of rate talk right now. Right? And we've been through all this before with rate talk. They've done it for years. They were doing it all throughout from 2011 through 2014. But this time it's a little bit different in where we're at today with the change in power all over the world. Right? That's one of the things that we have seen is change in power. And that change is reflecting what is happening with the United States. So, and, folks, one of the things that I've thought, and I've heard Kim Clement had a prophecy about 7 years of good, and kind of like what happened in Egypt, and that during the 7 years of bad, the world is going to rely. Christians and the wealthy who are giving to the poor, it's going to be the situation like it was in the Bible, right, with Joseph. And he had the wisdom and knowledge to store it for 7 years. So obviously this system, this whatever new system we're going to, right, and then something is going to happen to this economy again. That's pretty powerful. That's a long time. If you think about what's happened with the virus and how messed up the economy has been just for the last 7 or 8 months, think about it for 7 years. That's pretty huge. So I do have some, some of the other expectations I do have. We got the Clinton and the Biden and the Hunter, the emails, and all that. Now I'm not going to really talk about it. I've put out the information. I told you guys on my last Patreon post. I made public so anybody can view it. And it goes over that, whether the information, if all this information is true, it's huge. Because it does entail not just what happened in Libya, but also in Iraq. And keep in mind, folks, remember there was a lot of contracts. There's a lot of contracts that happened in Iraq, right? In the rebuilding of Iraq. And there was a lot of corruption with that. So who knows what political leaders, at least here in the United States, are connected to that. And, with being just a little bit over 2 weeks out, one of the things that I have already expected to see but haven't seen is some of the Epstein files being released. And I know Kim Clement talked about highly embarrassing moments with politicians, so maybe this is going to happen here soon. It's going to cause a lot of people to drop out. But at the same time, keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of disinformation, or at least authentic information that try to maybe release at the same time. That maybe many of these things come out. We've talked about the whole thing with the UFO disclosure, and that whole thing with and I do want to do a video about Nassar, and that whole thing and UFOs. And I just happened to read something that just totally blew my mind. That just told me that we have to be very careful, and there's a lot of misinformation going out on these newsletters and stuff like that, and they have attracted the attention of a lot of members of the Q community, and that's not good. And because there's a lot of disinformation and sharing of false news and fake news, and just because they want this to be fulfilled. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to stay with Kim Clement and others that are talking about, the global currency reset and what's going to happen in the future. Because there's a lot of things in all of that is not, there's just a lot of things in it that are not good. And I have done a video on it before. Maybe about a year ago, I did a video on it, and I did all the research because a lot of the information comes from people that claim to be channelers. And there is a type of disclosure coming, but that's all. I'm telling you, folks, the information that I will present about, like what I discuss in the War in Heaven, and what's going to be actually kind of be revealed probably over the next 3 to 4 years, is going to prove what is going on in the War in Heaven, as we speak right now and in the past. So also too, to cover up all of that, and that's one of the things, like as we're not that far out from the election, and we look at the economy, right? The economy is trying to get back on track, but at the same time, there are, record bankruptcies, business closures, people are struggling, especially in a lot of different states and all over the world. And yet this economy is moving forward, and the central bank or the Federal Reserve and central banks are just pumping billions of dollars into the system every single day, trying to keep the system going. And as far as I know, they said they'll just keep printing money. But at some point, something has to give. And if this whole thing with Mr. E files and everything that's going on with the emails, and we're this close to the election, I am surprised that they have not started to create an event that tries to tank the economy, right? Pulling out all their money out of the Dow, the stock markets, pull all your money out of gold, crypto. That would be the way to do it, right? You have all these wealthy people that are connected to Mr. E, or they don't like this president's politics, and a lot of people a lot of these really wealthy people, if they start doing that at any point, if they start pulling their money out, that's when the stock market is going to start to go down. But we have not seen that yet, right? And maybe they're waiting to get closer and closer before they start doing that. So will we see a coordinated effort in that? I don't know. Maybe they'll try to do it afterwards, after the election. When Kim Clement talks about the debt and this new energy source, and they're going to ask them how they're going to take care of the debt. Well, obviously that debt is still there. Whether that moment in time is pre-RV or post-RV, there's a moment when that energy source will be revealed that will help deal with the debt. So I would think, and I have an expectation, that something's going to happen with the stock market and the economy within the next 2 weeks. I would think that if I was on the opposite side and we were trying to plan how to bring something down, that would be the way to do it. The other question is, with the RV, is the RV going to take place in a fiat system, or is the other system going to come later? Right? Because the breakthrough in the Middle East has to do with the dinar. Well, something has to happen with there in order for that to happen, right? And if the president said that he's trying to do it where currencies are on more of an even playing field, well, Iraq, that's all they have is oil, right? And they have a lot of other mineral resources, and they actually rely on other countries for certain types of energy. So what's going to justify them? What's going to justify $3 American for every dinar in a fiat system, right? So the central bank would have to make that change in a fiat system. So, the whole thing and how this all plays out, trying to figure out a timeline according to prophecy and according to what we see, we can't really figure it out right now at this moment. A lot of people will be shocked. A lot of people will be surprised when it does happen. Kim Clement said nothing, and then suddenly, right? So we're still in the nothing phase. And I think there's always going to be dates that we are always going to expect certain things. At the beginning of the year, I think March and April has always been a dinar revalue month, right? I think if you go back in history, just going back thinking, March and April have always been big months for revaluation talk. And, is this thing going to continue into 2021? All right, folks, just to kind of recap what I've kind of discussed today, we talk about the bans and just be careful of, especially if you're a YouTuber and you're listening, you need to be careful of the content that you might be putting up. You don't want to lose everything that you've built spending time, effort, and energy, and then to lose it. And, this whole thing with the elections, like my expectations, I'm still expecting to see all the information that I shared with you in the last video and on the public Patreon post about the whole thing with the emails and all that. I think that's just going to, for this week, because we're just basically just a little bit over 2 weeks away, you're gonna see more and more information, all the information that may have been on those laptops. Said I'm still expecting Mr. E-files. And some of these things with the emails though that deal with Iraq is what I am kind of really what I'm interested in the most, because I know what happened in Libya, I know what happened in maybe some other places, but I think when it comes to our investment, the information I'm looking for in those files, everything that has to deal with Iraq. And also I discussed the IMF. And the global reset, or their reset is what I call it. I don't think it's God's reset. I think because they're trying to survive. And if you're trying to survive, then you need to try to reinvent yourself. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, since they're calling for a new system, a global reset, right? We've heard the IMF talk before about needing to hit the button on a world reset, right? And they don't really have any power, so to speak. They just have a lot of influence and a lot of money that would try to make something like that happen. And maybe it all does have to do with currency manipulation. That maybe it will RV in a fiat system, right? Because we know that a lot of countries are undervalued on purpose. Right? There's a lot of countries that are undervalued on purpose, which that would be the way. I mean, they talk about printing more money. Well, instead of printing more money, why don't they give the value of the real currency of that country? Right? That would be the way to infuse a whole bunch of cash without the needing to print. You just give value to those currencies. Look for the news cycle. This coming up Monday, and we'll even see if there will even be a third debate that's supposed to be coming up, right? We got a third debate coming up. Let's see. So with all the information that is coming out, because the president is going to bring it up in the debate. So personally, I don't think we're going to have a third debate. So that remains to be seen. If it is, it's going to be good. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. God bless. Stay safe. And with that being said, Tuition Christian out.